We came out to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2011, July of 2011. It was a really hot summer that year. We came out here by car across all of the hot states in the southern part of America: Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and then into Charlotte, North Carolina. We also stumbled across quite a few Masonic temples, Masonic lodges, not very far from the neighborhood where we were trying to establish ourselves as a church. And being the soldier and the warrior for the gospel that I consider myself to be, I decided to hop out and go snatch some souls, if I could, out of the hands of the Masons. I started with children. Started with a group of about 10 young children, I would say ages 6 through 11, who one afternoon we were in the church and we were cleaning and we were looking at how we were going to arrange the building, the sanctuary. They saw us, they were walking by and playing around outside, and they came up and asked what we were doing. We told them we were about to open a church here, and they got kind of excited and said, "Can we come?" And, we thought they were just playing around. So told them, go tell your parents, get your parents' permissions, bring us back some kind of notes that says you guys can come, or bring your parents with you and you guys are welcome to come. And that following Sunday, we had a congregation full of children. Probably 15 to 20 children showed up that Sunday morning, that very first Sunday morning service. So it was me, my wife, my 3 kids, and about, let's say, 15 to 18 children worshiping God. And they actually sat and listened. They actually sat still and they actually listened. And that's where I learned that's what started our structure of just allowing people to interact and ask questions as we're delivering the message during the service, because the children had a lot of questions as I was preaching and teaching. And it was like they were in classroom and they would raise their hand, and as soon as they raised their hand, they would blurt their question out. And I didn't want to disregard that and not answer their questions, so I answered their questions. The following Wednesday night service, a couple of parents came along with the children. Pretty much the same group of children showed up, and a couple of parents, and the parents saw the kids raising their hands and asking questions, and they were looking to stop their kids, like, don't interrupt. And I was like, no, let them ask questions. I would rather them ask questions and learn and get it out of the system and get this gospel in. And with the answers to the questions comes the gospel. And then the parents got into that mode. And then before we knew it, we had a full house church. And by full house, it's not a mega church, it's a small in residential area church. We had about, at the maximum point of our ministry, we had about 30 people. I hesitate to call them members because it's not a club, but we had about 30 people who would attend, sometimes all at once, especially when we had certain events. We did a lot of giveaways, we did a lot of eating. And then the parents got into that mode of asking questions, and it became more of a school setting than a traditional church, I'm preaching to you, you be quiet and listen to me type situation. And turned out that was inviting and captivating to them, and they began to bring more friends. They began to tell people about us in the circles of people who they hung out with and did their thing with, that, there's this church here, and, you can ask questions, and it's comfortable, and it feels like you're at home, and, they feed you, and they bless you, and they listen to you, and they pray with you, et cetera, et cetera. And so, like I said, we built up to a point where we had about 30 solid people who would attend regularly. And we outreached, taught them how to outreach. If they didn't know how to outreach, or had never outreached before, because outreaching California style, I would say Praise Chapel style, was a little foreign to them here. They had only seen Jehovah's Witnesses go door knocking to outreach, and standing on the corner or standing in the shopping center preaching the gospel and testifying of the goodness of God in our own lives. It was just something that was foreign to this community and to this city. We got chased off out of a lot of places by property owners of shopping centers, and the police never bothered us, though. The police began to actually participate with us. There was a high-profile murder in the community in our neighborhood that took place that drew we got together with a few other churches and a few other community organizations, and we organized a Stop the Violence march and rally in the neighborhood. And the police department, the police chief, the mayor, and even the local news outlets became very familiar with us. We had a couple of clips on the news, and they actually did a full expose type report on one of our church members, and we gained traction. We put a footprint for what God was doing through our ministry pretty quickly. And we got to the point where even police officers would come and park their car in front of our church to where they could hear the worship and hear the message. And they would sit there during our service writing their reports. And some of them even got back to me and let me know, like, yeah, I like sitting in front of your church, and I like hearing the worship, and I like hearing the message. While I'm writing my reports, it makes it peaceful while I'm writing my reports, et cetera, et cetera. And like I say, we had some contact with the police chief and with the mayor and some city council people, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not bragging. Like I say, we're a small church. And the goal was never to be a large mega church. The goal was just to be impactful and to help the community and show the love of God to people, to real life struggling people in what we label the hood. I grew up in the hood my whole life. I grew up in Gardena, California. Wasn't necessarily the ghetto, but it was the hood. Gangbanging and drug dealing. And I've been to jail more times than I can count. Had my house raided, etc. The whole package. So, after that event in the neighborhood, the rally and the exposure on the news channels, we really began to grow, but not in a way that you would think in a standard way. We began to grow in the fact that where we held church service, was our residence. We also lived there next door. I had it was a duplex. I owned a duplex, and we lived in one side of the duplex, and our church was in the second house of the duplex. So they would come knocking at my door all times of day, all times of night, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, looking for prayer, looking for change, monetary money, looking for help, looking to see, is this person I heard about as real as I've heard that they are? Is this church that I've heard about as real as I've heard that it is? And we began to connect with the community around us, not only inside the building on Sunday and Wednesday and Friday, our church services and Bible studies, but throughout the day, throughout the week. I'd be out cutting the grass and someone would come and say, hey, I have this issue, can I talk to you? We would talk and we would pray. And they would come back and talk to me a couple of days later like, wow, God moved and it was great and it was awesome. And, you my pastor, and they wouldn't come to necessarily church service, but they would regularly come and talk to me and regularly come and ask for prayer and regularly come to me. And I keep saying me a lot, but they were coming to looking for Jesus, looking for guidance, looking for hope. And we were able to help introduce them to the truest hope of all, the hope that comes from the love of God, from the power of the blood that was shed on the cross for the salvation of man. So, it was never about becoming a super popular mega church pastor. It was never about counting numbers and trying to build a brand or anything of that nature. Is about connecting with people, and we were able to do that. And again, that started with children, and it continued with children. Our biggest population was children, and to this very day, 12 years later, those children who are now young adults call me from time to time. They have my number, they have my social media information, and they contact me from time to time when they're going through struggles, when they're going through hard times, when they have questions. And of course, in 2020, pandemic came and some other hurdles came our way, political hurdles, and it really affected the church portion of our ministry. Actually, in 2019, even before the pandemic, we were going through that struggle as a church ministry, a locational church, and we began to hold church uptown. We would go uptown, and there was a fountain in what they call uptown, which would be downtown in any other city. But here in Charlotte, they call it uptown. And there was an intersection on 3rd Street and College Street that had a public fountain with picnic-style, cafe-style outdoor tables and umbrellas around the fountain. And we would go hang out up there, and my son Aaron took his guitar, and we would, sing worship songs, and we would preach the message openly for whoever was passing by could hear it and join us. And people would come and not necessarily join us, but sit in the tables around us and listen and read their books while we were worshiping, and read books while we were holding our Bible study, our question and answers and preaching, et cetera, et cetera. And so through all of those struggles with the physical location that we ran into, like I said, especially once the pandemic hit, we had already been prepared to go outside the building and to just be part of the community. instead of having the community join the church, we joined the community. But we didn't join the community to become like them, but in hopes that they would become like Christ, as we were also attempting as human beings to become more like Christ. So here we are in 2023 now, and we have not had a church building since 2019, late 2019, mid to late 2019. But the people still, I won't say stay connected to us on a regular basis, but when they go through crises, when they go through situations, they know that we're here and that they can call on us for some support and some prayer and some love and some guidance. And they do, and they have. And the bond is there. We have built a bond with some people without a building. And I don't know if we will ever go back into a building. We currently attend a church where there's a building to keep ourselves sharpened and to see where God guides us next. I don't feel any urgency to go back to doing things the way we did them in the beginning, because I think we have not drifted away from anything. I think we have progressed beyond that right now. And I think going back into a traditional church building setting is going backwards at the moment. You know, if God guides us in that direction and opens that door, of course, we're going to walk in. Because I serve God. I serve His people. And that's all. You know, I never took a salary to minister the Word of God. I never counted upon tithes and offerings. Matter of fact, the tithes and the offerings that came in through our ministry went right back out into the community. We fed the community regularly with food giveaways, with barbecues and cookouts, where we would invite the community, or people would even be walking by that didn't come join us, and we would just holler out to them, hey, come get a plate. You know, take some food home with you to your family, to your loved ones. You got, you know, a grandma at home, a grandpa at home, take them something to eat. They haven't had to cook tonight. You know, giving away clothes. The congregation learned how to use these little hand looms and make handmade beanies and skull caps. And we had a couple of giveaways of those. We had a person in our ministry who was connected with a food ministry here in the city through Jackson Park and Second Harvest. And so we had a food giveaway ministry twice a week for a while, where we gave away, you know, everything from sandwich meats to desserts, a few times some steaks, vegetables, you know, you name it. You know, whatever was donated to the food bank by the local grocery stores or whatnot, we got a portion of that and were able to distribute it throughout the community. And these events got a big response. And Oh, glory to God. That's all I can say.